Hi folks, Jack O'Malley here with you on Wednesday update, and I've got it. I'm putting a disclaimer at the very beginning. I'm just coming back from the House floor where we took some votes I'm going to tell you about. My blood is boiling. 2 days in a row now, I have seen hypocrisy in action, and I'll tell you about it. And so I had all sorts of things to talk about today, but I want to focus on a couple because, again, I don't want to talk to the choir. I don't want to preach to the choir. I want to talk to those people in the middle who think this governor is actually doing a good job. And I am so incensed at my Democratic colleagues. I'll tell you why. So we send a supplemental over to the governor last week. She vetoes line item several things, which I'll talk about in a quick second here. So yesterday, we tried to override those vetoes, okay? And you need 2/3. So you need 74 votes out of 110 to get that 2/3. So now, a week ago, when we voted on these bills, 85 representatives voted for them. We needed 74 to override the veto. We could not override those vetoes because we could only, I think the high mark was 66 on these 4 bills. So I have this question. Somewhere those votes were political. They were only political. Were they last week when you voted with us just so that you could say, see, we did? Or were they yesterday when you went against these Democratic members of the House, when they went against what they voted last week? This isn't 2 months ago, 3 months ago. This is last week. They voted yes. 85 members. Yesterday we could muster 66. We couldn't override those vetoes. That's hypocrisy, in my opinion. So now we move forward, and real quick here, because I guess it's important here. She vetoed $405 million in business property tax relief. Administration also vetoed $86 million for non-public school funding that was coming from federal funds. So today we took these 4 items that she vetoed. It was business relief was one, and then the school bills were this $86 million for public schools or non-public schools and for summer school funding. All right. So they're not tied to anything. That was one of the things the governor said, well, these were tied to other things, and that's not right. So here, let's package them back up and get them back to you, Madam Governor. How about you sign them? Our Democrats voted against us. There were a couple who voted with us. So we're sending it back up to the governor. So here's my argument. My Democratic colleagues are, well, you can't give this money to private schools. Why the hell not? This was not just school funding. This was money so that these private schools who've been open during COVID, we could help cover their costs of cleaning and all of that stuff. It wasn't for nuts and bolts. It wasn't for classroom, new maps on the walls. It wasn't for teachers' salaries. It was to help cover the costs of our school kids, whether they're public or private, to do this. And it was money for summer schools. Our kids are so screwed up from this last year of on, off, not on, whatever. This would help parents cover some costs to get their kids to summer school. And what I said, I made a floor speech, and what I said was, all my life, I hear from my very liberal friends, schools, it's all about the kids. It's all about the kids. I call bull. Because this funding, if it's all about the kids, does it matter if it's in a public or private? You want them safe. And if we can help them pay for all of the Lysol and masks and all, why not? What's wrong with that? It's federal money, right? I hate to use the term, but it's free money. So it just burned my butt that they're over there calling us. It's such BS. And then we had $400 million for businesses to help them cover and add money to the unemployment fund, which has been devastated because of our governor's lockdowns. It is time for the governor to stop. And it is time for some of my colleagues across the aisle to grow a spine. God, that just, when they're getting up there high and mighty, not wanting to send money to schools because they're private. Again, this wasn't for teacher salaries. This was for Lysol. This was for PPE. God, it just fried me. If you can't tell. I don't want to talk about that tonight. This is a good one. Another thing. When we talk about election integrity, there was nothing wrong with the election. There was no problems. It's a lie. Listen, I don't believe the election was stolen, but I do believe that our Secretary of State took some very big, what's the word I'm looking for here? She went way out of her bounds. Let me just look at that. I don't have the word in my head. Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson exceeded her powers last fall when she told local clerks to presume the signatures on absentee voter ballots are valid before they're matched with a voter's signature on file. A court of claims judge ruled. So we need to make sure that this election, the nuts and bolts, the I's, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. There are rules and laws for a reason. So this wasn't the most perfect election ever, as some claim. There are things that our election committee can investigate and work on. So that brings me to another thing. So Benson loses a court case that says, yeah, you gotta follow up and double check the signatures when she had told clerks you don't have to. Come on, Secretary Benson. So we have 8 bills yesterday that were up that would reform some of the things with regards to elections. So now these hypocritical members on the other side of the aisle, this is terrible. These bills shouldn't be because they're all there because of the false narrative of the November election. Well, colleagues on the left, how about we look at the facts? These 8 bills that were bipartisan sponsorship were not about the 2020 election. What were they about? They were about the Auditor General's report from 2019. The State Auditor General is a bipartisan. They look at things and they come back and say, here are the problems. The Auditor General looked at our election laws and said, these are problems that need to be cleaned up. So these 8 bills got stalled because of COVID and all that crap. And so we passed them out. And they're not terrible. They're fixing something from 2019, but yet my colleagues had to go back to it's all about 2020. This was from an Auditor General's report from 2019, well before it even happened. So I have seen the last 2 days hypocrisy and BS in action before my eyes. So I'm just trying to follow the facts and do things right. And if you're going to tell me that just because you're in a private school, you shouldn't get your Lysol paid for during a COVID incident, it's all about the kids? Don't ever say that to me again. Don't ever say it's all about the kids when you won't pay for the Lysol. So, there's other things we can talk about on Friday. But our governor, as many know, and again, I'm talking to those people who think she's just doing it great. She is a political animal, and I'm not. So when I see that crap from the other side, accusing me, because I want to help some kid, I don't care what school they go to. I want to make sure they're healthy. I want to make sure they're taken care of. It's all BS, I'll tell you. Ooh, I need to go calm down. Oh, I get it. I get it. There's politics. I'm not here. I'm not naive. I understand that, right? I get it. But Pay attention, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I don't want to preach to the choir. I know, Jack, I've been telling you this for months. Choir over here. There's people in the middle who think our governor is doing it right. Pay attention, because she's not. There. Have a good evening. Talk to you on Friday. I'll be mellower, maybe.